that's might be losing their memory, and you wonder if they're developing Alzheimer's disease? Yes? No? Okay. All righty. So today we're going to clarify a lot of things about memory. Now, I know most of you have flown through an airport, right? And you lost something. You lose something and you go back to where TSA checked you out, and if you can't find it after you have a little panic attack, some of you pray, Lord, help me find whatever it is that you lost. The ultimate place you call to look for what you lost is the lost and found department, right? Isn't that true? That's what most of us do. Every place has a lost and found department where you can hopefully find what you're worried about, what you lost. Isn't that true? Don't worry. Sometimes I think people, when they hear a doctor speaking, they get nervous and don't know, oh, should I answer this? A lot of what I'm asking is common sense. Don't worry. There's no IQ test here. It's just being real. So I've entitled today's topic, and I'm going to step off to the side because I want you to look up at the screen. Hello, Lost and Found Department. Is my memory there? And that's what we're going to talk about today. So I want to get everybody off their nervous concern about Alzheimer's disease. Here's the first thing you need to know about memory and Alzheimer's disease, and we could go home. But I didn't fly so many miles to come here and just give you a 1-second commercial. So here's the thing. If you forgot something and recall what you forgot within 24 hours, that is a sign that you do not have Alzheimer's disease. When you can recall it within 24 hours, that's the first problem that people may have with memory. Here's the second thing. I went into the closet and I forgot why I was there. Think like a child. Clothes are in the closet. So you went into the closet to pick out a pair of clothes. Why does that happen? Any of you have that and you get worried about your memory? Now I see there's a bunch of ladies here, so you're going to understand what I'm about to say. When you go into the closet and forgot why you were there, you have not been shopping with a woman. A woman will tell you, when it comes to shopping, baby, we need some water. And you get in the car and you go out and you thought you left for water, but you come back with a bag, a pair of shoes, and a puppy. Has that happened to anybody? Here's what it is. It's not that you lost your memory. A lot of times, ladies are good at multitasking. So you may need water, but then as you go to get the water, they see something that catches their attention, and before you know it, you come home with all these items that you didn't intend on. When you go into that closet and you forgot why you were there, other thoughts came into your mind, and that is not a memory problem. You're just slightly ADHD. Does that make sense? Because I get church, but because I do consults for free on the side. Church people have all these concerns because every doctor speaks Chinese and they never distinguish if it's Mandarin or what dialect. And I have to clarify things for people who are scared about memory. And that's the second thing. Now, the third thing about memory is, listen very carefully. There's no magic juice or drink that will bring back some of the deficits of memory. And we're going to get into that. The reason why, a guy by the name of Dr. Dean Ornish, and you've probably seen a lot of these stories where somebody had Alzheimer's disease and they found a cure. And so they're selling you whatever it is. Number one, it's not a whole bunch of it. Number two, it's not true. Let me tell you what they're tricking you with. Listen to me very carefully. This will blow your mind away. Do you know what the diagnostic test is to figure out if you had Alzheimer's disease? Did you catch what I just said? Do you know what the diagnostic test is to figure out if you had Alzheimer's disease? It's death and a pathology report where they find plaques in your brain. There's no genetic marker. You may have propensities, but they don't know until you die. So all of these people telling you, I got this magic juice, even some of Advent, will not name them. We got to be careful of some of our own people. Drink this, do this, jump on your leg 6 times, and your memory will come back. And you, cha-ching, spend a lot of money. So that's not true. So, and the reason why I say that's not true, I'm going to get a little nerdy on you, because I see America being fooled by a lot of things about this deficiency, that deficiency, etc. What you don't. Here's something you need to understand. A lot of people who want to fool you do association studies, but not correlation studies. It means it was associated with something, but it wasn't the cause of it. We'll get into it. Don't worry. I'm going to give you everything you need to know about certain concerns you have about your memory, where you lost it. Most of the memory, you can find it and recover it. And you will be surprised when we get to the mero mero, mi hermano de la Isla Dominicana. Mero mero. When we get to the mero, when we get to the grand point, you will be surprised how most of Americans can actually recuperate their memory, but it costs to live in the United States of America psychologically. That's for all of us, whether you're Adventist or not. We're going to get to that. So, with what we know about what actually causes memory difficulties, here are some of the things about Alzheimer's disease that I want to point out to you when you know a person is really losing their memory. But I'm going to show you the main ones. So, they talk about things of forgetting their keys, not remembering where they went to, etc. But the main thing is behavioral changes that are out of typical context. It's not easy to pick that up. But that is one of the biggest diagnostic signs that a person is probably developing Alzheimer's disease, when there's certain behavioral changes. We're going to get into some other things about me. I want to, tackle this one first, but then we're going to get to most of the reason why most of you can't remember and are worried about it, because we all go through it. So the other thing is, Alzheimer's disease is not a disease of white people. If you look at the statistics, and the reason why I'm bringing this up, number one, it is very unlikely before 60 years of age to develop Alzheimer's. So whatever memory problem a person might be having now, more than likely it's not Alzheimer's disease. The second thing is, if you look at who actually develops Alzheimer's disease from age 65 to about age 85, it is Hispanics of non-island origin. Now you're saying, I saw that commercial, A Place for Mom. And they always have this cute little nice Caucasian lady. Let me show you the power of advertising and taking your money. They know that most of the women that end up widowed are white Caucasian ladies, and there's the ones that you can get to do a reverse mortgage on their home to support them being in assisted living. But what it's blinding our eyes to is who is actually developing Alzheimer's disease. It tends to be, this is going to blow your mind, male Hispanic men. But Granny has the money. The other thing we know, that right now about 5 million people have Alzheimer's disease. Here's the thing. By 2050, nearly 14 million people 65 years of age or older will have Alzheimer's disease. This is why this is important in America, because right now, today, I got this statistic from last year. We spent $321 billion on taking care of memory problems. And the United States, we spend more money for less value in healthcare because we don't target prevention. I'm setting all this up to let you know you do not want to keep praying for some doctor to find some cure to something that is a detriment of sin. This is part of the blessed hope. Let this mind be in you. All of this stuff. You see, when we talk about heaven, you know what blows my mind away as a doctor? We talk about the mansions. We talk about the streets made of gold. But we never talk about how I will be so thankful to God when he renews my mind. All of the memory things that we fight against every day, he's going to fix that. Now, the reason why I brought this statistic up about, I'm one of the insiders. I'm inside the walls of Jericho. Let me tell y'all what's going on in medicine. Anything that could make us money, we will push to you as a cure. And when it comes to memory, oh man, we're making a lot of money, but people aren't getting better. But you're going to find out how. We'll get there. I'm rushing through this, but because of time, et cetera. Out of the 100 best healthcare systems in the world, United States ranks 33rd. All the quality measures. You can't lie about how many people are dying. You can't. We're not at the top of the list for keeping people alive. And that little country north of the border that we make fun of, oh, Canada, our home and native land. I was telling my wife, I know the Canadian national anthem. I can't remember the United States one. The reason why is every time I look at health statistics, the moose is beating the eagle. All right, folks, don't worry. I got you on the edges. We'll get there. So here's what we know regarding memory and what most people are losing and where to find it. So the first thing we will start off with, and this is actually the number one reason why most people are losing their memory, and here it goes: sleep, memory, and coffee. Now, relax, take a deep breath. I saw some of you said, man, I like this doctor until he started to touch my latte. I'm not going to touch your latte. I'm going to show you something. It doesn't matter if it's Utah, Nevada, every time a store goes out of business, you know what I notice? Guess what pops up? A Starbucks. Have you noticed that? That where the pawn shop used to be, a Starbucks. Now I'm telling on myself from where I came from, the neighborhood. But do you notice Starbucks are popping up all over the place? There's a reason for that. So, sleep, memory, and coffee, a study. Multiple are being published stating that there's an association, remember that word I said, but not correlation, with drinking coffee and dementia. So here's what they were saying. But none of those studies state that there is a causation between coffee drinking and dementia. And here is the number one reason why most people, SDA or not, whether you found the Lord, whether you were just baptized, you're thinking about being baptized, whether the Lord has talked to you, etc. What is the cultural thing that's making most of us lose our memory? Okay? It's either insomnia or sleep apnea. And there's a difference. Insomnia means you have problems falling asleep and staying asleep. And that's an oxygen problem. Oxygen is needed by your brain and your body to repair all of the damage. And here's what most people do. If they're suffering from insomnia, here, think about this. If you had a good night's sleep, why do you need a big cup of coffee to wake you up in the morning? So coffee has been masking insomnia. Because people figure, at night I don't have to work, most of us. At night I don't have much to do. I'm in my house, I'm tossing and turning in my bed. But if I can get that coffee in the morning, I can function the rest of the day. Now, for all of you who are nervous, in the Bible, I have not found where you're going to lose your soul because you drank coffee. If you find that text in the Greek or in the original, show it to me. Here's what I'm hipping you to. Lifestyle. I have a lecture where I do about why can't I sleep, how to fix your insomnia, but what I'm telling you right now, sinner and saint in the United States of America is suffering from insomnia. That's the number one thing causing most people to have memory issues. Not the coffee, but the fact that one of our, and this is why I do what I do. I'm a researcher. But I think what God called me to do was actually teach a health message that helps people to feel better. You know, one of the things I've been on with our Adventist brethren, focus on helping people to feel better. Stop talking about who's vegan and vegetarian and who cuts their hair, don't cut their hair, who wears this and doesn't wear that. Let me tell you right now, everybody around this block, if I was offering a free seminar on how to sleep better, even the devil would attend that seminar because he's not getting much sleep at all. I don't want him well rested though. But what I'm saying is, folks, insomnia is the number one reason why a lot of us are having memory deficits, and we override it with coffee. Here's the thing. Sooner or later, the insomnia catches up to the coffee, and then 1 cup now has to be 2 cups. And it's in the statistics. The second thing is sleep apnea. Here's the issue with sleep apnea. It's not an oxygen problem. It's a carbon dioxide problem. And so it can't show up here. There's nose breathers and mouth breathers. The problem is not when you inhale, it's when you exhale. The carbon dioxide gets trapped, and it lulls you into a state of anesthesia. And this is why sleep apnea people will tell you with their eyes literally closing in front of you when they're talking to you, I sleep well at night, but I'm so tired throughout the day. Here is why. The carbon dioxide puts you in a state of anesthesia, but you don't get enough oxygen to regenerate your cells. So you're tired throughout the day. Mouth breather that's why that CPAP machine either opens up the passage in the nose or the mouth. And most people in the United States of America who have a memory problem, most people in church, and you know how I know? You see them falling asleep through powerful messages coming from heaven. Ooh, I saw a couple of you squirm in your seats. What I'm trying to tell you folks is, if you are having many memory problems, figure out if you have insomnia or sleep apnea, because both of them lead to depression, diabetes, heart failure, high blood pressure, concentration, and memory problems. So, the bottom line is, if you lost your AM memory, especially when you get up and you can't function, we found it here: sleep deprivation and insomnia. That's where that memory was lost. Where can it be found? Get a good mattress, get a good night's sleep. You know what I found out? I faced demons and devils all day long, on the phone, on the internet, etc. I find that reading the Psalms, just one, man, you know, sometimes I was like, David really understood my experience. He actually has a Psalms about insomnia, which says the same thing, that when you focus on these things. So let me give you some tips of how to, you know, this is a summary of the other lecture because I know we're pushing for time. Number 1, shut off your cell phone, all TV 15 minutes before you go to bed. Do not fight with your spouse half an hour before you go to bed. Now, when you're well rested the next day, it's WWE. I'm serious. Here's the thing that gets me about couples. The one that fights a lot is the one that usually passes away first. I'm not making it up. So you're trying to settle a fight, and it's mostly men, and she's just saying, go ahead. You done yet? Turn off the cell phone. Don't let your kids be connected to their social. Oh my goodness. Do not let your kids be connected to their social media before they go to bed. Are you guys parents? Like my old school parents? Why are you negotiating with your kids? You pay the bill, you pay the cell phone bill, and you got to here, Johnny, please be kind to mommy. And can you turn that thing off? You haven't eaten your dinner yet, and go to bed. Y'all didn't grow up with a granny or mama like me. I'd be outside sleeping with the dog and having to fight him or her for the food. Shut off your children's social media half an hour before they go to bed because they can't sleep, and you can't sleep. Okay? We still friends? Okay. All right. So that's the first thing. This is not hell or heaven. This is preservation. We're trying to help you save your memory. And here it is. If you lose a limb, does that limb grow back? Remember when Paul talked about the armor of God and he said one of the things was the helmet of salvation? You know what? I went back, and this is, pastors, they know a lot of the theology, but sometimes I see the medicine in the theology. One of the things he was talking about is the blood-brain barrier. You know what that thing does? It's to prevent psychological and metabolic things that could do damage to your brain. Here's where alcohol comes in. Alcohol breaks the blood-brain barrier in any context, any amount that you drink that. Did you hear what I just said? The issue with alcohol is that the person that drinks is destroying their brain. And according to the United States of America, at 21, you could start destroying your brain. In other countries, it's 12 years old. Did you know that? Where we live in San Diego, a lot of the high school kids, they go down to Mexico because the drinking age is lower. So look at what the devil did. We're going to have a good time. Let's get some beers. And what you don't know, you are destroying your brain. This is what the brain looks like after just simply 2 ounces of alcohol, normal versus alcoholic. Those blue zones that you see is lack of oxygen to the brain. But here is the danger about alcohol destroying memory. Destruction of alcohol and memory also comes with behavioral problems. When it crosses that blood-brain barrier, it's like a kid in a toy store. I want the truck. I want the airplane. I want the doll. Look at all these things that alcohol causes to do. Slowed senses. If it affects the hypothalamus, it can affect your satiety senses. If it affects your frontal lobe, it affects your ability for new learning. All of this in Jack Daniels and Coors and Modelo. Look at that. The devil even put it in ways that it would be attractive to you. Miller Lite. It don't matter if it's Miller Lite, Jack Daniels, Coors, Modelo. It's destroying your brain. It's destroying your memory. And here's how you know when a person has been affected by the behavioral changes. So when a person, and this is one of the messages that we could, teach as Adventists. I don't know what happened. Came off? Okay, there we go. That if a person is losing their memory and has behavioral problems and they're drinking alcohol every once in a while, that's where they lost their memory. And here's the sad thing. When you stop, those brain cells don't regenerate. So the bottom line is this. If you're dealing with someone who has a memory problem due to drugs and alcohol, keep them on their meds. Because the meds are trying to replace what is permanently gone. I am not one of these Adventist doctors who's going to tell you just pray all day. Yes, it's important to pray. Yes, there's the power in that. But God gave us knowledge that even if we get to the point where we have created deficits in our brain, prayer and medicine does work. But I've seen it. People take their loved one off of that med who had a drug addiction problem, and they relapsed, left the church, or committed suicide. Prayer gives you the power to do what your brain can't do. The medicines make up a deficit of the memory that's lost. So if you're dealing with someone who has memory problems, who they used to drink alcohol, bring them to church, but take them to their counselor. Do the two at the same time. All right? We still friends? We're almost there. I'm almost done because I'm going to rush through the last two. Man, you ladies, have mercy. Estrogen. So here, you can go on my website. This is free. Let me just, Pastor, I'm going to summarize this real quick because I know we're at the 12 o'clock hour. Let me tell you ladies something about estrogen real quick, and this is something you need to consider. And this is what I did my research from. Estrogen actually protects ladies from developing Alzheimer's disease. I looked at all of the statistics. There was a women's health. There used to be a time in medicine. I'll give you the summary real quick for women and men, and you can download it for free on my website. It's called You Don't Have to Diet Anymore. It tells you about simple steps that you can use to manage your weight, which are you can do them for life, but it also tells you how you can protect your memory if you're a woman that comes from a family that has a high incidence of Alzheimer's disease. Estrogen protects you from developing Alzheimer's. What happened, though, in medicine, a women's health study came out because in medicine, things that cause lawsuits and take away money from the system call our attention. That women's health study, which was about 25 years ago, started telling women, because there was a time we used to put women on hormonal replacement therapy once they hit 50, estrogen, because it protected their bones, it protected their memory, it protected their cholesterol. That's what estrogen does. That's why you guys outlive us. You ever see these old guys with young women? They marry a younger woman, and they call those women cougars? I'm sorry. The older women that marry the young guys, they call them cougars, right? The old guys that marry young women, they call them dogs. Remember this, a cougar will always outlive a dog. because the estrogen women have gives you longevity. So when they start, and I have the statistics, it's clear. When they stop taking women off of estrogen, I'm not saying this is for every woman, I'm saying if you have a high risk of Alzheimer's disease in your family and you're a woman, you definitely, once you hit 50, you want to consider HRT. Hormonal replacement therapy. Because the statistics show once doctors stop doing that, the incidence of Alzheimer's of women skyrocketed. For men, testosterone actually, over expanded lifetime, causes memory problems. Because the testosterone actually enhances the development of plaques, which causes Alzheimer's disease. So here's the bottom line. For women, if there's a high risk of Alzheimer's disease in your family, what you want to do is consider HRT when you hit 50. For men, it is vital, it is absolute that you keep your cholesterol levels down and controlled. Because that plaque in the brain that causes Alzheimer's disease is due to buildup of a cholesterol-like substance. And you know what enhances that? Too much testosterone. So as I close, guys, here's the take-home message for you. You know those big buff bodybuilders that tell you they're natural and they're not injecting? And they are? When they get older, they're going to have memory problems if they don't get the kidney problems, if they don't get the brain problems. That's the road that they're on. And be careful about you trying to rescue your youth. Of 19, you want that doctor to put you on testosterone supplements. What you trying to do, Grandpa? At 70-something years of age? Don't use steroids, young men, older men, because it'll affect your memory. And ladies, if you have a history, talk to your doctor about HRT. That's my time for this morning, folks. In summary, if you lost your memory, or you're losing your memory, number one, remember, get proper sleep, get yourself checked out to see that you don't have sleep apnea. The danger of even drinking alcohol every once in a while is that you get memory problems and behavioral problems because that alcohol crosses the blood-brain barrier. And the last thing is, for ladies, and it's on, you can download the studies, everything is there. You may want to consider HRT if there's a strong history of memory problems in your family to avoid developing Alzheimer's or delaying it. And for guys, keep your cholesterol in check and do not do steroids because you want to look buff like The Rock. only to see once the effects came off because he has another health condition. And I'm praying for the brother that he lives a good long life with whatever health he's got left. That's my time. I thank you so much. Pastor, take a couple of questions, or we want to take a break, and then if you have any questions, we'll answer those before going into the next service and presentation. Any questions at all? Yes. How do you improve insomnia? Like I mentioned, 15. Okay, so I'll give you 3 quick steps. Number 1, you got to go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time. That's the mistake most people make. Your brain is based upon a cycle. So when your brain gets used to going to sleep at a certain time and waking up at a certain time, that starts to normalize the cycle. The second thing is, it's very hard, and I even go through this, where you got to learn how to shut out all the noise with whatever music, reading the Bible, etc., about 15 minutes before you want to go to sleep. And then the last thing is that and this is the other lecture, you have to figure out if you have an alpha phase sleep disorder, which is falling asleep, delta phase, which is staying asleep sleep disorder, or both, an alpha or delta phase, because there's 2 different ways psychologically to get those better. And finally, most people have this question about meds or supplements. Do not use melatonin more than 2 weeks. Melatonin was designed for people who have daylight saving sleep disorders, where they're traveling from different countries, because melatonin resets your sleep and wake cycle to the sun, not your sleep wake cycle to your regular day. And so what happens is, people who take melatonin for more than 2 weeks, then they complicate the sleep disorder. And that's why they go from 5 milligrams to 10 milligrams to which melatonin is better. That's not what the issue is. The issue is, once you start using it 2 weeks, your whole circadian rhythm has been reset. There's other alternatives: trazodone, gabapentin. I don't want to go into those. Chamomile tea, magnesium. But you have to know what is causing the problem beyond the behavioral to pick which one is better for you. Okay? All righty. Yes? Aging? Yes and no.
Yes.
Oh. He wanted to know if aging is related with loss of memory. Yes and no. As you age, some people tend to forget new learned information. Some people tend to forget past learned information, but it doesn't mean it's a memory problem to the point where it's detrimental to life, like you're going to drive off a cliff or you can't read signs anymore. But it's different why it happens to some people versus others. So like someone who is a university professor, or even like pastors sometimes, people who read and study a lot, as they get older, they tend to do better with past memories than new ones. So like Pastor O'Neill, I'm sure I could bring up a sermon that he preached. He might think about it, a long time ago. Oh, yeah, I remember that. And he could probably pull up a couple of points. But if I ask him what is he going to preach about next week, he'll, I'm still working on that. I can't remember, but, So, it's different. It's complicated. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Also, I have a question. So you said steroids, to stay away from steroids. What about like protein shakes? Are those actually okay? Don't they have any side effects?
Yes. If you're doing a lot of protein, it builds a lot of muscle, but it's a heavy load on the kidneys. So, folks, there's always balance. I understand. Most of you young men want to be buff like me. I totally understand that. That was a joke. That, I was joking. It's okay to laugh in church. I was joking. You have to be careful, though, how much protein you're taking in to develop the goals that you want to get to. So that's the only thing. You got to be careful of the renal failure with that. Okay? Any other questions? All right. Well, folks, thank you for being attentive. I don't know if there's a break in between, but the next thing that we're going to tackle is from the cradle to your cocaine. There was a very interesting passage of scripture that the devil used to set our minds up for addiction. And so we're going to talk about, it's not a sermon, it's a presentation. So, from the cradle to your cocaine and things that we need to do, especially with our kids in the prenatal phase of their development. Thank you, and God bless you. And we'll